Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. As you can tell, today's video is super important. It is how to fill your DS-160 form. Now the DS-160 form is an electronic application form that is required to get the US non-immigrant visa. It is a fully online form and it must be completed by every applicant, including dependents, if they wish to get a non-immigrant visa for the US. So if you're planning to study in the US and want to know how to fill out this form, please keep on watching. Foreign nationals applying for a visa stamp at a US consulate or embassy must complete and submit the DS-160 form online before scheduling their visa interview. Consular officers use the information entered in the DS-160 form to process the visa application and, combined with a personal interview, determine an applicant's eligibility for the non-immigrant visa. You can find this form quite easily. All you need to do is go to Google and type in DS-160 form. Here you can see. And the first link that you'll see, the ceac.state.gov link, that is your form. Right here you have your DS-160 form. So on the left side of the page, right here, you'll see important before you start. So make sure you go through it before you start filling out the DS-160 application form. So the first thing you're going to do is fill out where you're applying from. So basically your home country or the country where you currently reside. So right here you'll see this section, and when you click on the drop down menu, you'll see the names of all the countries. So for India, as you can see here, there are 5 options: Chennai, Hyderabad, Kolkata, Mumbai and New Delhi. So these are the locations where the US consulates are there in the country. So you need to select whichever one is the closest to you. So if you live somewhere in South India, you can probably select Chennai or Hyderabad. If you live in the Central India, probably Mumbai. If you live in East India, probably Kolkata. And if you live somewhere up in the north, New Delhi would be more suitable for you. So for this example, let's just go in with New Delhi as the capital of India. Then you'll need to fill in this security code shown right here. So go ahead and fill that in. You'll see right here that there are 2 options here: start an application and retrieve an application. If you're a new applicant, you will need to start your application, or if you're someone who's already started filling out the application and you have saved it in the middle, you will need to retrieve your application. So let's just click on start an application for now. You'll then come to the page with Computer Fraud and Abuse Act notices. So here you'll need to scroll down and click on I agree. Just go through it once roughly and then click on I agree. Now right here you'll see this is an important page. So this is your application information. Now you can take a screenshot or you can note it down or click a picture somewhere. So right here you'll see on the top right corner there is your application ID. Now this application ID is very important. So as in the last page we saw retrieve an application, for that option you will need your application ID number. So make sure to note it down somewhere. And at the bottom right here you will see a security question. Now this is again a drop down menu, so you need to select a security question just in case you need to retrieve your application. As you can see, there are a lot of questions right here. You can choose anyone. Make sure to choose the one that you can remember the answer to easily. Don't choose a difficult question because it will be hard for you to remember the answer. So whichever one is suitable for you, let's just go in with that. Now type in your answer and then click on continue. Now this is where the actual form starts. Now one thing you'll notice here is it displays your application ID number right here on the top right corner, so you do not forget it. In the center of the form you'll see all the details or all the fields that need to be filled in, and on the right side here you'll see hints. So whichever field is next to it, you'll see the hint to it. And here on the left side it shows you all the sections that you need to fill in. Make sure that you see the note. It says data on this page must match the information as it is written in your passport. So make sure whatever you're filling in here, your name, your surname, everything matches the information in your passport. Now the first thing they ask you is your surname or your last name. When you hover your mouse on the field name, it will also show you in the native language. So for India it is Hindi, so it shows the name in Hindi as well. So it asks you your surname, which is your last name, then is your given name or your first name. Next is your full name in native alphabet. So for India, it would be Hindi. And if you're from a country where it does not apply, you can simply click on the not apply option. But also, if you do not have the technology to fill in your name in the native alphabet, you can click on this box as well. Now the next name is, have you ever used any other names? So if you used any other names in your life, you need to type those in. So let's say you click on yes. Now it'll pop up some more fields. So you need to add the surname and the name that you've used. And if you've used more than one name, you can add another name by clicking right here on the add another option. Now the next question is, do you have a telecode that represents you? Now if you do not know what telecodes are, on the right side you'll see the hint what it means. So it says telecodes are 4-digit code numbers that represent characters in some non-Roman alphabet names. So if you do have, then put those in. Now next is your sex, so whatever your sex is, fill those in. Next is your marital status. Again, it's a drop down menu. You can select whichever one applies to you. Next is your date and place of birth. So your date, the city, the state and the country. So go ahead and fill these details in. Then you'll move on to the next page of your personal information. There you'll see questions like your nationality, so the country where you belong, and if you have had any other nationality, and if you have a PR or permanent residency in any other country. Now for nationality, let's just say India. Now if you select yes in any of the other two options, it will show you some more questions asking about which country you hold the nationality of or permanent residency in and your passport of said country. If you hold the nationality or PR in multiple countries, you have the option of adding them through this option as well. Now in the next section, it will ask you your national ID number, a US social security number and a US taxpayer ID number. Simply click on does not apply if you do not have these, and then you can move on to the next page, which is the travel details. Now we come to the travel information. This section of the form asks you about your travel plans. In the first question, you need to select your visa class. So select whichever one is applicable for you from the drop down menu. So if you're a student, there are 4 classes of visa for you, and if you want to know which one applies to you, you can check out the video up in the eye, and we'll also make sure to link the video down in the description box below. Now you'll see here you have the F class visa for the academic or language student, you have the J class visa for exchange visitor, you have the M class visa for vocational or non-academic student, and you have the Q class visa for cultural exchange visitor. Select whichever one is applicable for you. Then you need to specify. So say for example you select the F. Now you need to specify whether it's an F1 visa or an F2 visa. So F1 is for student and F2 is for the child or spouse of an F1. So whichever one is applicable for you, fill that in. Then you select if you have made any specific travel plans. If you click on yes, it asks you about your arrival and departure details like date, flight, city, along with the locations you plan to travel in the US. If no, it asks you for your intended period of stay. Now you need to mention only the duration of your master's course and not the post-study work extension time period here. So let's say, for example, you are pursuing a STEM course that is 2 years long, which will enable you for 3 years of post-study work period in total. Do not mention 5 years as your intended stay period. Only mention 2 years. When you get your visa, it will be mentioned on the visa how long can you stay in the US in total. Now, for example, let's say you fill in that you want to stay for 2 years in the US. It'll pop up some more questions asking where you will stay in US. So you need to fill in those details. Now the last question on this page, as you can see, is the person or entity paying for your trip. So whoever is paying for your trip, you need to fill that in. This is again a drop down menu. Now you can select whichever one is applicable for you. If you're paying for your ticket yourself, you can put this in, and if some other person is paying for it, you can put in this. Now you'll need to mention their details like their surname, name, number, email address, and their relationship to you. So for now, let's just say that you're paying for it yourself. But if someone else is paying for your trip, do make sure to put this in. On the next page, it will ask you if you have any companions traveling with you. Now again, if you click yes on this one, it will ask you if you're traveling as part of a group or an organization. And again, if you click yes on it, it asks you the group name. Now if you click no, it asks you the details of the person traveling with you. So their surname, their name, and their relationship to you. So for this example, let's just say you're traveling alone. Now the next page asks you about your previous travel details, whether you have been in the US in the past or not. If you click yes, it will ask you details like your arrival date and your length of stay and the US driver's license. Simply click on no if you've never been to the US before. Next question is if you've ever been issued a US visa previously. Again, if you say yes, it will ask you details about the previous visa, like the date issued, visa number, and other details as you can see on this screen. Again, click on no if you've never been issued a US visa. Then it asks you if you've ever been refused a US visa. Now if you click yes on this one, you simply need to provide an explanation as to why your US visa was rejected. So for now, let's just say no. Now the next is whether anyone has filled a visa on your behalf. Again, if yes, you'll need to provide an explanation. And if no, then you simply click on no and then you move ahead. Now the next is your address and phone information. So go ahead and fill in your address details. That is your home address. So wherever you live. Then you need to tick whether this is your mailing address as well. If not, then you will need to provide your mailing address details as well. Next, fill in your phone number, and if you have any secondary numbers or work numbers, go ahead and fill those in as well. Then the same thing with your email ID. Now, if you've used any other numbers in the last 5 years, you need to click on yes and then fill in those numbers. If you have used more than one number, you can add more numbers through the add another option, and the same thing with your email address as well. Next comes your social media. So any social media platform that you've used in the last 5 years. If you've used any platforms, go ahead and select the platform from this drop down menu. There's a bunch of them listed here, and then you'll need to provide your social media identifier or your username basically. So go ahead and fill that in. Now the next question it will ask you is if you have had any other presence online in the last 5 years. So if you've worked on social medias for any companies, any brands, any organization, or etc. So you'll need to fill in their details as well. Fill in these sections and then click on next and go to the passport section of the form. Now comes your passport details. So let's say you don't have your passport with you right now, or by the time you find your passport, your session has been timed out, or you're not in a situation to find your passport and you want to do it later, it will save the previous information. Now this is where you'll need your application ID number and the security question. So you'll again go to the home page and then select your location, fill in the security code, and this time click on retrieve an application. You'll be directed to a page where you'll need to fill in your application number. Now once you fill your application number, you will go to the security questions page. Now you'll need to put in the first 5 letters of your surname, your birth year, and the answer to the security question that you selected in the first step. Fill those in and click on retrieve application. Now moving on to the passport details, the first thing you need to do is select your type of passport. So again, it's a drop down menu. There's a bunch of passport types listed here. Let's go with the most common one, the regular one. And you'll need to put in your passport number. So go ahead and fill that in. And if you have a passport book number, then go ahead and fill this in. And if you don't, simply click on does not apply. Next is the country where the passport was issued. So you've already filled in your nationality, and since you do not have any other nationality, it has already taken your nationality as the country that issued the passport. Now you need to fill in the details of where it was filled in. So city, state, country again, and the date of issue and the date of expiration. Now the last question on this page asks you if you've ever lost a passport or had one stolen. Now if you have, you will need to fill in the details like the number, the country that issued the passport, and a small explanation. If you've never lost a passport, simply click on no, and then you'll move forward to the next section of the form, which is the US contact. Next section asks for the contact details of the person or organization you know or are probably visiting in the US. This is needed so that if the need arises for them to verify your identity, they can contact said person or organization. Now you need to fill in at least one of these two segments. So you either fill in a contact person or an organization name. So if you're a student, when you receive your I-20 form, it usually mentions the contact details of a course advisor. If you do not have this information, you can put in the name of your university in the organization section and fill in the rest of the details. The next question it asks you is your relationship to you. So if you put in an organization name, you can choose employer or a school official from this drop down menu. And as a student, if you've put down your university name and not the name of the course advisor, you can select the other option. Now you'll need to give the address and phone number of the point of contact. So let's say if you've put in a university name in the organization name, you can put in the address of the university. Fill this in and then move on to the next section, that is the family section. Now next comes details about your family. So first is about your father, so fill in his name, his surname, his date of birth, whether he's in the US or not. Same details in the next section about your mother. Now if you click on yes on any of these questions that say if your father or your mother is in the US, it'll pop up one drop down menu that asks for their status. So whether they're a citizen, a legal permanent resident, an immigrant, or any other. So go ahead and fill that in. Then it asks you if you have any immediate relatives in the US apart from your parents. Now immediate relatives, as you can see here, it means your fiance, spouse, child, or sibling. If you have any relatives in the US, click on yes and fill in the details that pop up right here. So their surname, their name, their relationship to you, and their status. If you don't have any immediate relatives, simply click on no. Then asks you one more question, if you have any other relatives that are not your immediate relatives in the US. If you click on yes, it does not ask you any other question, so you can move on to the next section, which is the work/education/training. Now we come to your present education or work information. Now select from this list of drop down menu what your primary occupation is. So whatever you choose, it will pop up some more questions about your employer. So for now, let's just say you're in communications. Now it will pop up some questions about your employer, like their name, their address, city, state, country, your start date, your monthly income if you were employed, and a brief summary of your work duties. Now if you're still a student, you'll need to fill in the details about your school. If you work in a company, then you'll need to fill in the details of your company. Now, if you're not employed currently, you can select the not employed option right here, and you'll need to give a little bit of explanation. So let's say you've taken some time off work to prepare for competitive exams, you can write that here. And if you're a homemaker or if you're retired, it will ask you no further questions on this page. So fill up these details and any other details that pop up, and then move on to the next section. On the next page, it will ask you about your previous employments from the last 5 years. Select yes if you did work previously. Now here you'll need to provide details about your previous employer, like their name, address, contact details, your job title, your supervisors, your start and end date, and describe your duties briefly. Next question is if you have attended any educational institutes at a secondary level or above. Now this is equivalent to the US high school level. So for India it would mean secondary and senior secondary level. So basically from classes 9 and upwards. Now if you're going for a bachelor's or master's, you will have to click on yes. For bachelor's, you will need to add your 12th grade details, and for master's, you will need to add both your bachelor's details and 12th details. So let's say you're going for master's and you've added your bachelor's details right here, and you need to add your 12th details. You'll need to click on add another option and then add your 12th details. Now for your 12th, in the course of study right here, you can add academic. Next page asks for some additional information, like whether you are part of a clan or a tribe. If yes, you'll need to put in the tribe or the clan name. Now, next field is a list of languages you speak. So put in all the languages you speak, and if you speak more than one language, you can see the add another option right here. Click on this and then add any other languages that you speak. Now the next is if you've traveled to any other country within the last 5 years. Now if yes, you'll need to add the country name, and if there are multiple, you can add all the countries you've traveled through via this option. Now the next question is, have you belonged to, contributed to, or worked for any professional, social, or charitable organization? Now this is excluding your current or previous organizations. So if you have worked for an NGO probably, then you can add that in. Again, you'll need to give the organization name. Next is, do you have any specialized skills or training such as firearms, explosives, nuclear, biological, or chemical experience? If you click yes, you'll need to give an explanation. And next is if you've served in the military. Again, if you say yes, it'll ask you a bunch of questions like the country, the branch, the rank, your specialization, your start and end date. And the next question is, have you ever served in, been a member of, or been involved with a paramilitary unit, vigilante unit, rebel group, guerrilla group, or insurgent organization? Again, if you click yes here, then you'll need to provide information or an explanation. And if not, you can simply click on no on all these and then move ahead to the security and background details. Now we move on to the security and background details. Now this section is a long section with 5 parts, as you can see right here. Here in the beginning you'll see a note stating that people in certain categories may not be issued visa as per the US law unless a waiver in advance is taken. And you need to provide complete and accurate information in this section, so make sure not to put any false details. Now let's move on to the part 1. Question 1 is if you have any communicable disease of public health significance. The examples, as you can see, are mentioned right here in the brackets. Now if you click on yes, you'll need to give an explanation as to which communicable diseases you have. Question 2 is, do you have a mental or physical disorder that poses or is likely to pose a threat to the safety or welfare of yourself or others? If you do, then click on yes and then provide an explanation right here. Question 3 is, are you or have you ever been a drug abuser or addict? Same here. If you have, then you click on yes and give an explanation. If no, you click on no on all of these and then move forward. Part 2 again is your security and background questions. If you have done any of these, you need to click yes and then you'll be asked to give an explanation or some questions to answer. And if not, simply click on no and move forward. Similarly, you fill in parts 3, 4 and 5 right here. Now this is the last and a very important section of the form. Right here on top it says that you have indicated that you will be studying in some capacity while in the United States. Now since we filled in F class in the visa subclass, this is how they know that we'll be studying. Then list at least 2 contacts in your country of residence, so basically where you're applying from, who can verify the information that you have provided on this application. Do not list immediate family members or relatives. So as it says, you can't write your immediate family or relatives, so probably your friends or co-workers or your acquaintances can be mentioned here. So go ahead and fill in their names, their surnames, their contact information such as their address, city, state, phone number, email, and then move on to the next part, that is the service. Next we move on to service information. If you want to know what is service information, you can check that out up in the I and also in the description box below. In short, to be eligible for US student visa, you need to get accepted into an SEVP institution, upon which the school will register you into the Student and Exchange Visitor Information System or SEVIS and give you a form I-20, which is the certificate of eligibility for non-immigrant student status. The first field you'll see on this page is your SEVIS ID, which will be mentioned in your I-20 form, so go ahead and fill that up. Next, it'll ask you details about your school and course, so fill those in too, and now you'll move on to review. Now we move on to review. So you've completed filling in this information, now you're on review. Now as you can see up here, it says photo will be taken at ASC, which is the Application Service Center. So when you book an appointment, it will be a biometric appointment and interview appointment. So the photo will be taken in biometric appointment. Next in review is basically you review whether all the information right here is correct. So go through it thoroughly, don't skip this part. So you'll review section by section, and if you need to edit any information right here, as it says edit information, you can edit it right here itself. So make sure there are no mistakes in this form, and then you'll move on to sign. So now that you've reviewed all your information, you're going to move on to sign and submit. As you can see right here, it says read the following information carefully before dating, electronically signing and submitting the application. In this section, it says the application may be ready to submit, but that does not mean your application for the US visa is completed. There will be additional things such as your interview. Read this section and then scroll down to proceed to submit the application. Right here, it asks you if anyone assisted you in filling this application. Now here at Foreign Admits, we do offer you help from start to end, so we also assist you in filling the DS-160 form. If you would like to be assisted by our counselors, you can head to the link in the description and opt for these services, and our team would be glad to help you out. Now coming back to the question, if you have been assisted, you will click on yes and then fill in the details of the person or organization that helped you. So right here, I'm just going to put in foreign admits and fill in these details right here. And then it asks you their relationship to you, so you can just write counselors. Next, you need to e-sign this form and then submit. So you will need to enter your passport number again right here and then enter the security code right here and then click on sign and submit application.
After you sign and submit your form, you will be shown a receipt. Now, as mentioned in the previous video, this receipt is extremely important as you will need it for your interview. You can check out what documents you'll need for your interview in our previous video, which we'll make sure to link up in the I and also in the description box below. Now, here is a confirmation page from a sample document I found on the official website of the US government. So this is what the confirmation page looks like. The photo is uploaded in this confirmation page as this is a sample from 2019. However, your photo will be taken at your biometric interview, so you do not need to worry about it. Now you will need to produce this confirmation page, so you can print this confirmation or print your entire application, or you can even email this confirmation, whatever is feasible for you, but make sure to produce this document at your interview.
Alright, and that is how you fill a DS-160 form for the US student visa. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, then show us some love and hit the like button. And share this video with your friends and help them in filling out their DS-160 forms as well. Comment down below what other videos would you like to see from us next. And last but not the least, subscribe to our channel for more such videos. And I will see you guys in the next video.